Uh, uh. Good morning. Good morning.
Hey everybody, Morning
Good
Deuce.
morning.
What's up? Today is going to be quick, easy, fast, to the point, because I have been running this week covering the political elections. We're going to start with Ted Cruz. He made a speech at the RNC today. No one knew if he was going to endorse, well, they didn't tell us if they knew whether he would endorse Donald Trump or not. He went out there. His time slot was 9 minutes. He spoke for 23 minutes. I can't remember the last time I saw someone walk onto stage to an incredible standing ovation, like a pretty significant standing ovation, and get booed off. I mean, he got booed off stage for making some statements. Basically, got booed off stage because he said, vote with your conscience instead of vote for Donald Trump, so he didn't endorse him, which is like, why did the Trump campaign even let him on stage? Like, what a high-risk move if you don't know he's going to endorse him. Like, why would you ever do that if you don't think he's going to unify? The whole purpose of having him on stage as the second-place finisher in the GOP race is to try to unify. That's the whole point of the convention. And yet, he and supposedly his close friends are the ones that on day one that were trying to get a vote pushed to change the rules as a last-ditch effort to try to remove Trump's guarantee at the nomination. And then this time he goes on stage and tells people to vote with their conscience instead of vote for the nominee. Trump says he saw the speech a couple hours before and still let him go on stage, which I guess maybe he was just thinking, oh, it'll be even more of a PR nightmare if we pull him 2 hours before. But to me, knowing that he was going to say that, it seems crazy. He basically got booed off stage, and Trump just walked out and waved his hands and smiled, and they moved him off stage while the camera focused on Trump the whole time. At once this speech was going, what was almost 3 times as long as they expected, at least the chair did, or the time they allotted him. So it makes me confused. If you saw the speech, you would know it's longer than his allotted time, and you wouldn't be walking out there waving your hands and smiling to draw attention away from him. I don't buy it. I don't think they knew. Even in the middle of the speech, he was talking about states' rights, and he was saying Colorado can do something different than New York. Idaho can do something different than Florida. And the states that he was saying, he's pushing states' rights, but he happened to be putting states that he won up against states that, Trump won. Clearly, he had some undertones. Clearly, he's still butthurt, which I guess that makes sense, considering Donald Trump did say his wife was ugly, did mire him in a sex scandal for cheating his wife, which ended up being completely false, including one of the people that was mentioned was like Trump's number 2 in his campaign, and then also accused his dad, who's like Cruz's role model, of being part of the JFK assassination. So yeah, I mean, I guess if, Ted Cruz might have a couple reasons to still be butthurt about the whole situation. I mean, he did and has been preparing for this presidential run for 8 years, and he got whomped by somebody who basically didn't prepare at all and is very much not liked within the other lawmakers. And then the whole insults to the people you care about. It's hard to imagine that guy would go on stage and just fall on the sword for this whole unity thing the convention is pushing for, and he didn't. And a lot of people within the Republican Party are saying it's idiotic, dumb, political suicide, all these things. I think he's just butthurt and he's hedging his bets. So if the Trump campaign loses or if they win and his presidency fails, Cruz can say, I never endorsed him, I never supported him, I knew this was not going to work. That's the side he's decided to hedge his bets on. Strange that someone who is hedging that way would also be one of the keynote speakers of day 3 of 4 of the Republican convention. Nuts. Switching right along and just moving here, MH370, remember the Malaysian airplane that we lost and no one knows what happened to it, and it was like the biggest thing in the world on the internet, on TV. CNN had 24-hour a day coverage forever, people rolling on the ground, and like their analysis was ridiculous and so overblown. Well, turns out now, after like over a year of searching, the officials are now saying we might have been looking in the wrong place the whole time, which is just, how do you lose a plane? Like, I still don't understand how you lose a plane. Just within the last 2 or 3 months, another plane went down between, I want to say it was France and Greece, just went down in the middle of the ocean, or France and Egypt. I can't even remember. It was an Egypt airplane, so probably France and Egypt. And we don't know why. And that just like went out of the news. It was like, oh, it's huge. What happened? Is it terror? Is it not terror? They found the plane. They found the remains of the plane. They found the bodies. But no one knows why the plane went down. No one knows if it was a mechanical failure. No one knows if it was terrorism. No one knows if it was shot down. We still don't know why MH370 completely went down. It's just weird. This whole thing is weird. Why we're losing planes? I don't know how you're doing that. And at this point, I don't even really honestly understand the value in spending tons of money to find the MH370 plane. I mean, what are we going to get out of it? It's been so long. You can only imagine a lot of the valuable data we could recover from it is probably destroyed. So billions of dollars being spent on this search, which I don't really understand anymore personally. And the weird part is Australia, because the plane happened to possibly be closer to them, is the nation leading this gigantic search project. And that makes no sense. If I'm Australia, I'm like, this plane wasn't from my country. This isn't my airline. Like, I don't understand why my taxpayers' billions of dollars are going to find it. And it's not a rescue mission. If it was a rescue mission, maybe I'd feel different. Now it's a recovery mission. That means I would be like, I'm sorry. This is not on my agenda anymore. But though they have scaled back much of what they are doing, they have not stopped. So the search continues. Turns out they've been looking in the wrong place the whole time. Who knows if they know where the right place is? They might just know that where they're looking is wrong. Pretty weird. I am very excited. As you guys know, I've talked a bunch about the Red Sox and how connected I feel to the team, because a player is on the team from my high school who is a little bit older than me, good friends with my brother. A player is on the team from my college who was the best player on my college team, which was fantastic. It was great to be a fan of that team. They won 2 national championships back-to-back years and lost in the final of the third year. They were incredible. And then, obviously, David Ortiz is in his final year for the Red Sox. At least he says, but he's playing so well, I don't know why he would ever retire. And he's like a hero of my childhood. So to have all those things culminating together is pretty special. And now they're finally making the beginning of their West Coast swing at the end of the month. And I have tickets to see them at a couple games, more than a handful of games over the next couple months. I'm doing that, and I am very, very, very excited. But I also love the Patriots, and today, Patriots wide receiver Julian Edelman, I guess, was doing some promotional thing with the team and took batting practice and just hit like 8 or 9 home runs out of like 40 pitches in batting practice. And he apparently has done this before, because a couple years ago he did it in Toronto for some other thing, and they said he was amazing. Like, in the field and at the bat, they said he had every skill that you could see him being a professional baseball player. It's crazy how talented some of these athletes are. I mean, Tom Brady isn't particularly athletic, and he was drafted out of high school in the late rounds to be a catcher for Major League Baseball, but chose to go to college at Michigan to play football. And then even Gronk, you see the other day, he's like, throws a perfect strike. And you realize, these athletes are just so finely tuned, finely trained. They eat so well. They're mentally, physically ready. And then they have fast twitch muscles, great body control, great vision, great hand-eye coordination. And all those assets translate so well between sports. I mean, it's impressive that a guy can just walk up there, pick up a baseball bat. He probably doesn't swing very often, and just launch him over the green monster. When people dream of that their whole lives and they can't achieve it, and they practice forever, and he's just like up there being like, okay, I'm going to swing a baseball bat today, and just launching him. Crazy, crazy, crazy. For part 2 today, there's been a lot in the news about the bad of Pokemon Go, the good and the bad. The good, it's, making a ton of money. It's a craze. People are uniting. The bad, people are running into people. People are crashing cars. People are, hurting themselves. They're posting things on subway signs saying, don't go down onto the subway tracks to try to catch Pokemon. That's ridiculous. But I read a couple informational, insightful stories about a child with autism who's now playing the game and has suddenly met friends, even though he doesn't really know how to interact with them so much. The fact that they're all working on the same thing, the little kids seem to be really delighted to have him around, and he doesn't have to be incredibly social because the social activity is trying to catch the Pokemon. Which is amazing. And I always thought that augmented reality, that half reality, half virtual reality might be a place where someone on the autism spectrum could excel because they have a hard time getting outside themselves. So if you change up their reality a little bit and change up other people's reality a little bit, there is that opportunity for a common goal that can be met between, socially a little bit easier. But here's another one, a cool story about Pokemon Go, and I'm just going to share it because it was posted on Twitter, and it sounds pretty interesting to me. Apparently, an animal shelter posted something similar to, if you're an adult and don't want people knowing you're playing Pokemon, we will rent a shelter dog to you for $5 an hour, so it looks like you're walking around with your dog. Haha, isn't that funny, right? Something like that. And keep in mind, people average 45 minutes a day on this app. Well, since they posted that, there's a waiting list of people who want to pay to walk a dog around. A waiting list of people to pay to walk dogs around. Shelters kill for volunteers to walk dogs around. Now they're getting it beyond. They have made so much money in those $5 rental fees that they've waived adoption fees for people who just want to take the animals home. They don't even have to pay to adopt the animal anymore because they're making so much money just having people come in and walk them. Apparently, when people are walking the dogs, they're putting pictures of them on social media because they're playing the game, and they're making social media posts about how they have a dog to show that they're not playing Pokemon Go, though they are. And people are seeing the posts, going to the shelters, and trying to adopt the dogs from the posts. And I know that works, unrelated to Pokemon, because my brother saw a Last Chance Puppy Survivor picture like 4 years ago and just looked at the dog, felt a connection to it, called, and ended up adopting that dog, and now is absolutely overwhelming in love with his puppy. And, now the dog's like 5 years old, and he's it's obsessive that he is the owner of his own spirit animal that's a real animal. And that all happened because of a social media post. And then, apparently, people are renting the dogs now to walk, and then calling the shelter back and saying, hey, I didn't think I wanted a dog, but this dog and I are getting along really well, and I think I'm going to keep him. And then the last thing is, apparently, eventually, the shelter itself basically ran out of dogs because so many of them were adopted that now they had to close down the renting policy and get dogs from other shelters that are overloaded so that they can open up the renting policy again. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to find a way to take a trend and turn it into something good. So maybe that's what we think about to go into our Thursday. How can we take a trend that's happening in the world and figure out a way to let it positively impact something that we do, something that we like, something that we want to be? All right. Morning Deuce, I'm out.